If the job pays 150 to 275,000 a year, this system finds it, scores it, and tells you if you're qualified without you opening LinkedIn. Not 500 applications, not random scrolling, only jobs you actually match with high accuracy. This isn't just another job board hack. This is a full AI job matching engine completely built inside of N8N that does 6 brutal things most job seekers never do. And it all runs on autopilot. And the great thing was, this system was actually inspired by one of my members in the community. So here's what the automation does. There's an on-form submission that asks 3 questions. And they are the keyword, so what job are you looking for? The location, so what country or city would you like this job? And how many jobs would you like this system to return? Once it has that information, it then triggers the scraper inside of Apify. And if you're a follower of this channel, then you know that I'm a big fan of Apify. And for this particular example, I'm using a scraper called the LinkedIn Job Scraper, which doesn't require cookies, and it was created by API Maestro. It's only $5 for 1,000 jobs, and it gives you a few inputs. So we can search by keywords, country name or city name, we can do workplace type, sort order, and so on. And you can also limit the number of jobs depending on how many searches you want. Once the jobs are scraped, it then plugs that information into an AI agent, which is the match and relevancy score agent. This agent will actually read the title, the job description, the location, and overlap it with the resume. And based on that, I've added a filter, which is to say, if the match is true, then filter results. So from an output of 10, it's left me with 1. So this is the most relevant job for this particular scrape. And once I have that, I then plug it into the final AI agent, which is the personalized email agent. What this will do is it will analyze the title, the description. It will scan the description as well to find the hiring manager, their contact email address, and anything else that's relevant to the job. So for example, I've seen certain recruiters use like a very specific job ID or code. And so they want you to respond with that in the subject line. So what I've trained this AI agent to do is to search the job description and find that. If it doesn't exist, then we'll just use a job title and create something clickbaity or engaging. And then it'll generate the personalized email, which then gets sent into the last node, which is a send email node from Gmail, which has the email address, the subject line, and the body of the cold email that you'll be sending to the recruiter. At the same time, I actually ran this earlier, and this is the draft email that it created for me. And remember, I haven't read any of these jobs, nor have I spent any time on LinkedIn looking for these jobs. And if you've ever spent any time on LinkedIn, you know that there are thousands of jobs, if not millions. And this automation can do all the heavy lifting for you. And so to build this, we're going to start off with an on-form submission node. This will capture 3 fields. So the first one is the keyword, second one is the location, and the third is the number of jobs. So for the example email that I showed you, I ran it for software engineer in New York City, and I wanted 10 jobs. Now obviously, if you're doing this yourself, you want to scrape as many jobs as you can. Remember, it's only $5 for 1,000 jobs on Apify, so really push this as hard as you can. But I left it at 10 because I'm recording a video. And then the second node is a HTTP request node. The method is post. We're going to call this URL, and I'll show you how you can find that next. And then we're going to send a JSON body. So content type is JSON. We're going to use JSON body, and this is the payload that we need. So again, this is what the Apify scraper is telling us that they need from our automation. So we need keywords, the limit, the location, page number, and sort, which is recent, which just makes sense because why would you want to apply for jobs that were like 2 weeks old? And so in the result window, you'll see something like this. And so when you head back into Apify, you're going to need 2 things. The first is the JSON body. So the way I always do it is I enter the fields that I will personally require for the automation. So for this example, I need the keywords, I need the location. I've set it to page number 1, but if you're doing this, then you obviously want to maximize this to as many page numbers as possible. I've set the order to most recent, and I've set the limit to 10. Again, you don't need any of this, but I just want to save time on this video. Then you want to head over to where it says JSON, and you want to copy this JSON payload because it has everything that we need to send back to the scraper, except for these values here will actually be replaced by dynamic variables. And you can see that's exactly what I've done. So for keywords, I've taken keyword. For limit, I've taken how many jobs. And for location, I've just taken the location. So you're halfway there. The next thing you need is the API endpoint. So head over to where it says API, click on API endpoints, and then the one you want is run actors synchronously and get dataset items. Just copy this, head back into N8N where it says URL, and just paste it here. What's great about this is that it has the base URL, which is api.apify.com. Then it will have the creator or the developer's details. So for this example, I used a scraper by API Maestro. And then what's great is that it will actually add the token on the end, so your API key. And this is the quickest and fastest way you can do this. And then once it runs, you know you'll have an output that looks something like this. So it's got the company, the URL, the title, description. It's even got a job URL. If you want to check it manually, you can, and everything else about this job. The output is 10 because I selected 10 for the number of jobs. And then once we have that, then we can plug it into the first AI agent, which will check the relevancy score and make sure it matches. So for the prompt, you want to define it below. And inside of here, you've got the company name, which is just the dynamic field that you drag from where it says company. So for this example is HCA Healthcare. Job title, job description. Again, just find the corresponding dynamic variable and move it over. And then for this example, I've just copied and pasted a fake resume inside of here. So this was for a software developer or engineer. And then we're going to turn on require specific output format on. And as with any AI agent, we need a system message. So for this, I put in something like this. You are a resume matcher. So you want to compare the resume to the description. Do not hallucinate. This is very important because you don't want to make it up, right? You want to make sure that your resume matches the jobs that you scraped. We have the inputs. I've given it a copy of the resume, paste it in here. Again, you can do the same. Just copy and paste the text version of your resume here. The layout or the formatting does not matter. And then I've given us the rules. So I want to score it between 0 and 100 for relevance, skills match, experience, seniority, salary alignment. And then I've given it a high threshold. So I want it to match anything that's above 70 for the relevant score. Now, again, you can play around with this number. It's not set in stone or anything like that. But if you're doing hundreds, if not thousands of job scrapes, you want to make sure that you are applying for the most relevant. And then you want to return the valid JSON. So I want this exact format. So I want a variable called match, relevant score, company, job title, and description. And the reason for that is I'm going to need that for the next AI agent. So once it runs, you have another 10 items because you need to review all of them. I'll give it a match of true or false. And that's why I've added a filter node, because I only want to match it with jobs that are true. And this one's quite simple. All you have to do is you get the output match field here, and this is a Boolean value. So it's true or false, right? It's yes, no, binary. And so the condition is if it's equal to true, then filter out. And so for 10 items, it's filtered it down to 1, which is a match of true. It's given me a relevant score of 87 based on the job title, the description, and the resume that plugged into it. And then once you have that, we can then plug it into the final AI agent, which is going to create the personalized email. So the inputs I'm going to give it is the company, the job title, and the job description. I'm going to require the specific output format to be toggled on. And then for this system message, I've given it this prompt, which is you are a recruitment outreach assistant. And I've given it some tasks. So the first task is to scan the job description and extract the recruiter or hiring email if it's present. Look for emails belonging to a recruiter, hiring manager, HR, or careers inbox. Ignore generic or unrelated emails such as support, info, sales, hello at. This is quite important because you don't waste your time with email addresses like this, because in most examples, they are actually unmanaged mailboxes. The second task is to scan the job description and extract the subject line if it's present. So like I said earlier at the start of this video, I have seen subject lines where they say, please respond with something like this. And that's purely because they've got some kind of automated system on their side, right? To kind of filter out everyday emails with people that are applying for this specific job. So if it's in there, I want to use that as a subject line for my emails, because otherwise they're not going to read it. If it doesn't exist, then just create one that's kind of clickbaity that will get opened in a professional format. And I've given some examples. The third task is to write a short personalized outreach email. Again, the emphasis on short and sharp and direct. You don't want to bore them, right? You just want to get your foot in the door. They open it, they read it, and they respond to it. That's it. And again, I've given this some guardrails. So I've kept it concise, 4 to 6 sentences, professional tone, and they sign off exactly with Jordan, which is the example I've used for this. But obviously this will be your name. And then I've given it the inputs, and then I want the output to be this exact JSON, which is recruiter email, subject line, and outreach email, because I'm going to need these 3 variables for the last node, which is the send email node. And so when you run it, you're going to get something like this. Now, if it doesn't have the recruiter email in there, that's fine. It will just return empty. But remember, you're going to be doing volume, right? You're going to be doing hundreds, if not thousands of scrapes. So you'll have plenty of examples which do have a recruiter email. And the last node you need is the send email node. So a top tip here is to send it as draft. Make sure there's a human in the loop step. Make sure you check the emails that it creates, you review it manually, and then you hit send yourself. This is what I would do. And then for the subject line, you just grab the subject line that's created from the previous node. And then for the message, you just grab the outreach email. And then when you run it, you'll have something like this. So you've got the ID, the message, it's in drafts, but more importantly, you'll see it inside of your Gmail draft section. And there you go. Here's a completely automated system to help you scrape jobs from LinkedIn that matches your resume based on relevancy. It then creates a personalized email for the recruiter, and it sends it to them using a Gmail node inside of N10. This system is very scalable, so you can send a few hundred or a few thousand. It's entirely up to you. And the best way to get hired on LinkedIn is to do both. Send an email follow-up as well as doing the online application. And with LinkedIn, it really doesn't take that long because you can actually apply through LinkedIn. And honestly, 99% of applicants will only be doing one. They'll only be applying online through LinkedIn. But you want to stand out from the crowd, which is why you're going to be sending an email follow-up as well. And it just shows the recruiter that you're really excited and you're willing to go above and beyond what's required. And honestly, that's going to help you stand out from the crowd. So if this video gave you some insights and opened your eyes on what's possible on LinkedIn, smash the like button and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and turn the notifications on so you know when the next video drops. And if you want to save time and download the entire automation, click on the link in the video description and sign up for my online community. Everything you need is inside there. So follow the on-screen instructions and I'll see you on the inside. Thank you so much if you made it this far. See you when the next video drops.